If you don't go see Psycho Killer, don't worry, you've already seen this movie, and probably more than once. So Psycho Killer is a new horror thriller about a highway patrol officer played by Georgina Campbell who goes on the hunt for a serial killer after witnessing him murder her husband during a traffic stop. And let's just say I had to channel my inner Stanley Yelnats and really dig pretty deep to find some positives here, but there are a few. To its credit, the movie wastes no time getting started and gets pretty much right to the point. Georgina gives a solid performance even though she's working with a character that's about as flavorful as egg whites. She's doing the best she can with what's on the page. There's some creative angles that reminded me of horror movies from the early 2000s, and you have some atmospheric lighting that really helps build the tone of the movie. We also spend a surprising amount of time following the killer, which helps break up what could have been very monotonous pacing. And for the most part, he looks reasonably menacing, kind of like a jacked member of Slipknot. The movie isn't drenched in gore, but when the kills happen, they're violent and not shy about showing it. There's one kill scene in particular that feels like a single continuous shot, or at least edited to look that way, and it's probably the highlight of the movie. Honestly, it felt like it was shot for a 3D screening, and I wouldn't be shocked if that was the original plan. And now we descend into the negatives. First of all, the voice they gave this guy, I feel like the creative director was like, I want him to sound like if Billy from the movie Saw was trying to imitate Batman, and then mix that with Batman trying to imitate Billy from the movie Saw. His normal voice would have been perfectly fine. Early on, Georgina's character does some rogue detective work, which could have been really interesting. Then that whole angle kind of just disappears. Part of what makes seeing the detective work fun in movies is it makes the audience feel like part of the investigation, because we're also trying to piece together things with the info being provided. But they just don't really give you that in this. She's just fed a lot of the information or learned it off screen and just shows up where he is and you're like, oh, I guess she figured out where he was gonna be. There's also a reveal about her character fairly early in the movie that goes absolutely nowhere. It's introduced like it's going to matter, then completely ignored. Aside from a half-hearted jump scare near the end, that's it. At one point, we follow the killer for so long that I genuinely forgot Georgina was in the movie until she shows up in that scene via detective work that I don't actually remember seeing happen. And you're like, oh yeah, she's in this movie. Totally forgot. And maybe this is just satanic fatigue talking, but is there really not a more interesting or original motive to give killers anymore? Why do I always feel like it's devil worship now? He feels like a copy-paste horror bad guy with a different outfit. There's nothing about him that feels new or memorable. There's also a whole subplot involving him stealing and taking pills that's never really explained. We're shown it a few times, but the movie never tells us what the pills do or why they matter. Feels like it's just there to say, look, he's extra psycho. One of the most frustrating things is how the movie wants us to believe this guy is some criminal mastermind that nobody can catch, even though he leaves satanic messages written in blood at every crime scene. Keep in mind, he does this with his bare hands. Apparently forensics just don't exist in this universe. If this were an episode of Dexter, this dude would have been on his table, dismembered into 4 garbage bags and at the bottom of the ocean by the first commercial break. But my biggest issue though, where is the rest of law enforcement? For a movie about a serial killer being hunted by law enforcement has almost zero presence in this movie. They hammer at home how dangerous this guy is, how many people he's killed, and how he's basically the most wanted person right now, yet Georgina's character seems to be the only one actively looking for him. I vividly remember sitting in the theater thinking, where is literally anyone else? I mean, she even says this to them during a part of the movie. To sell someone as such a prolific, horrible killer and then not accompany that with a feeling of a nationwide manhunt took away completely from the serious nature of the film. Overall, Psycho Killer feels like a pointless movie. It wants to be a psychological chess match, but it's really just a game of checkers. It doesn't bring anything new to the genre, and while not every horror movie needs to reinvent the wheel, this one had opportunities to do something interesting and instead went straight to the generic playbook. I walked out of the theater not even knowing if the killer was who you thought it was or a copycat. Alright guys, that wraps up this review. If you like these videos, hit the like button and do that subscribe thing. It's very much appreciated. If you like physical media, especially VHS, I license horror movies on VHS and you can snag them at frightgasm.com. With that, I hope you guys keep getting your fright on and I'll see you in the next review.